You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and I've got a very special guest joining us on the podcast this week. He is the internet's 365 a day, your desk calendar on the internet for roller coasters, Mr. at Coaster365 himself. Bryant Oliveira is joining me on the podcast. Bryant, what's going on?
Not much, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me on. I've been really a fan of Coaster101 since I became an enthusiast and started Coaster365. So almost 5 years to the day now. So
I love it.
It's an honor.
Your check is in the mail for the high praise. So thank you. Thank you.
Glad we got that out of the way.
Exactly. Thank you for the plug. But before we get into our topic this week, and we've got a really fun topic that just kind of stemmed from something you were talking about on Twitter. If you've been living under a rock on the internet, as some people do, let's give a little bit of background on the at Coaster365 handle. Kind of how did that get its start, and how do you plan to just like keep it up? Do you just pick a random coaster? Do you go on RCDB and hit the random coaster? Like, how does the Coaster365 Twitter account, like, what's behind it, basically?
Sure. So, I started in December of 2017, which is the same year I became an enthusiast. I was very much a late bloomer. I didn't become an enthusiast until I was almost 30. I always had the theme park like gene in me because I loved Disney and Universal growing up, but roller coasters always kind of freaked me out. But a trip to Six Flags New England in June of that year, thanks to my lovely wife Megan, and especially Wicked Cyclone and just RMCs in general, just really flipped that switch. And just that summer, I just started like going nuts researching stats and different parks, different YouTube channels and such. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be involved in the community. And I've always been a fan of those, like you said, those page-a-day calendars, just some daily stimulation, a daily wake you up, whatever.
Sure.
Like a daily cup of coffee. And I was bummed that there wasn't any like to purchase, like at least the 365, page a day versions. So I'm like, why don't I just do that on Twitter? And it started, it's been a gradual growth. I think I had, after the first year, barely 1,000 followers, and now here in 2022, I just hit over 5,000 followers, which is insane to think about. But as to answer your question about how I come up with the coasters, year one, I had it all planned out. Like I spent like a weekend just writing down, okay, I'm going to do this ride on July 17th, this one on November 8th, whatever. But I'm, doing it for 5 years now, and I've pretty much expired every major roller coaster in the world at this point. So I'm definitely repeating ones I've done before. And it's just a matter of like think of a random park in the US and all right, we'll do Renegade at Valley Fair today. And then I know my style. I give the stats, the year it opened, maybe a fun little fact about it. And then tomorrow I'll probably do an international ride somewhere in Europe. And the next day I might go Japan or Canada. And it's just kind of a cycle. I searched to make sure I didn't do the ride like within the last like 9 or 10 months. And
no real rhyme or reason. You'll throw the occasional like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to people on like their birthday or whatever.
Yes, I do. Yeah, if you're a close personal friend and it's your birthday, I'll give a significant ride and try to give some Easter eggs of some inside jokes or something.
Well,
and sometimes I'll make like funny references to like a sports game or something happening in the world or whatever.
I love it. Well, the sad news for me is, at least in the coaster community, is I will never be the most important person with my birthday. So Taylor Bybee, if you're listening to our podcast, shout out to being born several years after I was, and taking November 13th.
But he's got it 2 years in a row. Maybe next year I'll bump him a day and I'll put you on the 13th.
Throw it in the Google Doc and we'll figure it out. So,
yeah.
But before And one more time before we get into the topic, you've also recently announced a new endeavor that is beginning in 2023 for Coaster 365 or 365. However, are we doing this Fury style or are we doing this
I say 365. I don't really care if you say 365.
Okay.
Yeah. Whichever pleases you.
But yeah, tell us about the YouTube channel.
Yes. So, starting January 1st, I am starting the Coaster 365 YouTube channel, which has really been something I thought about back in 2018. I had, back then I really didn't know anybody, didn't really feel I was comfortable making videos or anything, or really just having my voice and my face out there. So it's kind of been on the back burner. And really, like, last year was the first year I started branching out and, like, trying to go to events and meeting other enthusiasts. And I've been so thankful just to meet so many incredibly amazing people, both as humans and with talent as well. And thanks to, again, my wonderful wife who's supporting me through this. She's been my number one supporter of trying to achieve this YouTube dream. So yeah, early this year, I'm like, you know what? 2023 is going to be the year I do it. And essentially I'm going to do on YouTube what I do on Twitter, where every day I'm going to have a video basically in front of a different roller coaster, explaining the ride, explaining what it does. The only difference is on YouTube, I'm also going to have a review of that ride, basically scoring it 0 out of 10. And at the end of all the videos, I'm going to have like a rolling top 25 as I go, kind of like a college football, college basketball. So the intrigue of, is this ride going to make us top 25 once I'm like into February and March? And
I like it.
We'll see how it goes. I'm for me, like I don't want to market it as I'm gonna have this is gonna be this super professional, all these amazing graphics and well shot videos. I'm gonna because I that's not my expertise. I'm just trying to rely on kind of the gimmick of it, and hopefully people enjoy it and they'll like, even if they come in the year in April, they'll be like, he's been doing this every day. I'm gonna go back to January 1st and see what he did with those rides. So.
There we go. All right. I like it. I'm looking forward to that personally.
Appreciate that.
For starting it as an enthusiast 5 years ago, do you have you ridden enough coasters to cover the full year yet? Are you close?
So, I mean, my credit count is 256 right now.
Okay.
I started filming back in June. And I did not film every ride I did since then, but I did want at least 3 months worth of footage done before I actually went live. I'm not quite at that goal, but I already am into like mid-March.
Nice.
So, I by the time March rolls around, I'm going to California in February, and I'll get a bunch then. So I should have left my. I can't talk. I should have left enough time to be able to catch up. Obviously, it's going to involve a lot of traveling and a lot of money to get to essentially 365 credits in a year and a half.
You got this.
But yeah, we're again. I know a lot more people in the community now, so it'll be easy to say, "Hey, can I stay at your place when I'm in, Kansas City or when I'm in Texas?" Or
there you go.
Yeah,
awesome. All right, we're going to get into one of your favorite things, and we were talking a little bit before the show started. You like ranking things and states specifically kind of in a very arbitrary way from time to time. Obviously, everybody says, X state is the best, this state is the worst, whatever. We've kind of come up with this very interesting, totally not scientific by any stretch of the imagination, at least for me. I don't know how you did your rankings here, but we're going to rank the 50 states as the best states for a coaster enthusiast. And there's a lot of things that could be like, hey, this is why you could rank it. I tried to personally keep it within the boundaries. Obviously, like if you live up north, if you live in New England, like Bryant, there's a lot of states in that immediate area that are at close driving distance. Whereas for me, you hit Carowinds about half an hour, and then you got to drive at least 4 or 5 hours to your next major theme park. So we try to keep this just inside state lines, not really traveling. Brian, I think that's how you did it as well, yes?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I think if there was like a tie, especially like the states that don't have roller coasters, then I'd be like, okay, what state are they? What other states are they around? And then I'll give them a little bit of an edge. But I think we're solely within the borders. I think the example I use with you is West Virginia, whereas in the borders of West Virginia, not great for roller coasters, but it is location wise, it's ideal for.
It is fantastic. So, but yes, we've kept it within state lines here.
Yeah.
And there's actually a little wrinkle in that we're going to talk about here a little bit later. If anybody knows anything about the history of this podcast, you probably know where we're going, especially it's my home park, and we're going to talk about it and how it works. But without further ado, I want to get into Brian. We're going to kind of break this up in Brian, and we're going to get this into like 10 state chunks. So we're going to go, let's start from 50 and go to 41. Brian, I want to hear what you have as the, quote, worst states to be a roller coaster enthusiast in, and then I will kind of follow up behind you.
You want me to just list them without any explanation, or do you want me to a little nugget after?
I think you could do a little bit of that. Okay. I mean, a little color if you want to. I think, again, at the 50 through 41 stage, it's dire straits out here. Yeah. So, but yeah, go just hit it 50 to 41.
Yeah, these are pretty much all states that either have no roller coasters or just one or two single ones. Right, I have worst as Hawaii. There's literally, they got nothing, and it's very, very, very far away from anything else. 49, I have Montana. 48, Rhode Island. 47, Delaware. Those are the four that don't have any credits at this point. 46, Alaska. 45, North Dakota. 44, Nebraska. 43, Wyoming. 42, South Dakota. And 41, Vermont.
Okay. This is I'm with you there. I've got a lot of the similar ones, I feel like, in with my list here. But I did not rank anything in, like, some of these I didn't rank individually, so there's like a tie. But tie for 47th is Rhode Island, Montana, Hawaii, Delaware, states that have no roller coasters. You're going to be last on the list because it's not a good state for a roller coaster enthusiast. Following that, tied for 45th, I have both Wyoming and Vermont, mainly just because they have mountain coasters. That's, if it's depending on how you count your credits, some people don't count mountain coasters. I don't know. I've never been on a mountain coaster. So right now I'm just putting them, again, tied for 45th. And then tied for 43rd, I've got Nebraska and North Dakota. They both have, I believe, one kiddie coaster apiece, or one or two kiddie coasters apiece. Something like that. It's nothing but kiddie coasters in the state. And then you're moving on, we've got Alaska at 42 because they've got a brand new, shiny, used roller coaster that's at the fairgrounds up there. And then in South Dakota, because they have 3 roller coasters, I technically, for the credit, I have to give the edge to South Dakota over Alaska, though I would rather ride whatever that coaster is, Aftershock, I believe is what it's called in Alaska, then Humpty Dumpty's Great Fall or Buffalo Hunt at the Fort Hays Chuckwagon, which does look really interesting. It's a suspended roller coaster from Wiegand. But that's how I kind of came up with that first of the worst, I guess, would be the best way to put that. So that's, but yeah, we were pretty similar there. I think we had all
I think there was a state that I think our bottom 10s are all the same states, just maybe different positions.
Yeah.
You know what? You're convincing me. I had Alaska at 46. You're right. I should bump. That ride is better than kiddie rides in Nebraska and North Dakota.
Yeah, it's a Aftershock. It is the Alaska State Fair in Palmer, Alaska.
Yeah.
It's a Zyklon Galaxy. It is it came to the Alaska State Fair from America's Fun Park in Branson, Missouri, which closed in 2018. And before that, it was at Lake City in Alabama. So it is quite the well-traveled roller coaster. So if for no other reason, you get to see a roller coaster in Alaska.
That's true.
That's got to be worth something.
Very, very true.
All right. Let's go 40 to 31. What do you have there?
Okay, so now we're getting into, they might have a little something, and even into some actually decent rides. 40, I have Mississippi, 39, Louisiana, 38, Kansas. And I think that's really the cutoff of, now we're getting into some actual legitimate roller coasters. 37, West Virginia, 36, Arizona, 35, Oregon, 34, Oklahoma, 33, New Mexico, 32, Washington State, and 31, Maine.
31. I'm making sure your list is similar to mine, or not similar to mine, I guess. But we are the same towards the top / bottom of this list. So at 40, I had Mississippi, 39, Louisiana, 38, Kansas, 37, West Virginia. I did love Camden Park for its kitschiness, but outside of I don't believe there's any other roller coasters in West Virginia, and
you're right.
That's not even counting the haunted house as a roller coaster. I think at that point
it doesn't. No.
So, 36, I had New Hampshire. 35.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little low, and maybe that's my non-New England bias speaking there. 35, Washington State. 34, Arizona. Tied for 32nd, I have Oklahoma and Utah. And 31, I have Nevada. And the reason I have these where they do, because the first you gave me was New Hampshire, which obviously we know is the home of Canopy Lake Park, right?
Canopy Lake, yeah. Storyland, and some mountain coasters. Which,
again, I don't know if I'm showing the mountain coaster bias here. Mm-hmm. I think I don't know. To me, it feels like a lot of kiddie coasters and mountain coasters, and then a Eurofighter and Yankee Cannonball and like the kiddie Gravity Group coaster.
Now I got to shout out Mark from the Drunk Riders because he famously has Rorosaurus at Storyland in his top 20.
I'm
I don't know if I haven't been on it yet. I'll be honest.
Given what I know about the Drunk Riders, this tracks. These are the guys who love Daddy Pig. And
here's the thing: Mark is probably the most sane of the three.
Also, very, very true. I love those guys, but you bring up a really good point. I had Arizona higher than you just because I think once, and maybe that's presumptuous, but I feel like once the Mattel theme park opens, it's going to give that state some really good new roller coasters. Obviously, that Hot Wheels Bone Crusher from Chance Rides looks amazing. So I bumped that up a little higher than you. To me, Oklahoma and Utah are kind of the same state when it comes to roller coasters. They both have one kind of major park that's got some kind of quirky, weird, off the beaten path stuff. And but I still don't think it's better than Nevada because El Loco and the Carolina Cyclone clone inside Circus, and I've got to count Buffalo Bills because it's still technically standing.
Okay,
it's there, but yeah, I think where we kind of differed, you had Oklahoma lower than I did. You've got New Mexico a little lower than I do, and you've got Maine just a little bit lower. But we're in Oregon. You actually have a lot lower than I do. But maybe that could be an oversight on my part. Whatever.
See, I think again.
Go ahead.
My argument. Now I'm not there yet. My argument for Utah is, Cannibal is one of the obviously one of the best roller coasters, but it's, I would say, very underrated because not a lot of people have ridden it. And I have been on it, and I've also heard Wicked is a pretty good roller coaster too. I think it's just they're way better than anything Oklahoma has.
Also fair, yeah. Totally fair. All right, let's get into the 20s and 30s. So 30 to 21. What do you have?
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing some maybe differences here. Number 30, I have Arkansas. 29, this is where I have Nevada. 28, Alabama. 27, I have New Hampshire. 26, Michigan. 25, Utah. 24, Iowa. 23, Connecticut. 22, Colorado. And 21, Maryland.
Okay. We're not so far off, I feel like, there. Because for me, I've got New Mexico at 30, Maine and Oregon tied for 28th, Arkansas and Connecticut tied for 26th, Alabama at 25, Michigan 24, Wisconsin 23, Idaho at 22, Colorado at 21.
Yeah, so, not too far off, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think so. No. I think I may, because I know you went out to Idaho earlier this year with the This Is How We Roll premiere. I think you were there. So you've been to Silverwood and you've experienced that park.
Yeah, so, I might have some Silverwood bias because that was truly one of like the best coaster weekends I've had in my life. And Silverwood is just such a gorgeous park, and I know I shouldn't be ranking these based on the park and just the coasters. My argument is Tremors is extremely underrated, especially now with the 208 track from RMC. Stun Pilot is really good. Even Timber Terror was really good too. There might be some bias if we're with Idaho.
That's fine.
Haven't even ranked yet.
Yeah, you were. It's like you can't do the park, but legitimately the only amusement park in Idaho is Silverwood, because you've got Glade Runner at the Bogus Basin Mountain Recreation Area, which I just really wanted to say, and the log roller coaster at Yellowstone Bear World, which, if you're going to have two parks that aren't Silverwood in a state, those are two very fantastic names for sure.
Very true. That's very true.
And yeah, I think we're pretty much there. You've got Maryland a little lower than I do, and again, I think I might have Six Flags America bias, if that could even possibly be a thing.
I might have the opposite of
that. Also probably true. But anything else that kind of really sticks out in your 30 to 21 here?
So we were talking about before we went on, we recorded. So like a state like Connecticut, quantity not so high, but when you have like a truly elite ride like Boulder Dash, does that give the state that much more of a push up?
See, I'm with you. I do agree. And I was in Connecticut earlier this year. I had the opportunity to go to Lake Compounce in one direction, and Six Flags New England was in the other direction, about the same distance. Mm-hmm. And against better judgment, I ended up in Massachusetts. And I had a Six Flags day, and that's what we'll say.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm looking at my rankings. I have Alabama just above Connecticut, and there's a roller coaster I've always wanted to ride, which is Rampage at Alabama Splash Adventure. Plus, you've got the Rollin' Thunder, the Thunderbolt clone at Tropic Falls, which I believe is now what the park at OA is calling itself. But I don't know. I think it's one of these things, like, again, because there's no science here, I think it's how we can just kind of, it's all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh yeah, it's so subjective.
Yes.
I wanted to share, I think this is another reason why I might have New Hampshire a little higher than you. It's one of my fun factoids. New Hampshire is actually the densest roller coaster state in the country as far as number of roller coasters per million people, I think.
Okay.
Because, New Hampshire only has maybe a million and a half people, but they still have 12 roller coasters.
Okay.
So for me, I'm going to bump that up a little bit because of that fact.
That's fair. I think RCDB is telling me something different, but we will address that here shortly. I'm looking at it. It says New Jersey is the most population density.
Oh, well, maybe it's changed with, you know what? That might have changed with American Dream Mall, potentially.
Could be. All right. Let's roll into our top 20 here. What do you have going 20 to 11?
So 20 is where I have Idaho, 19 Minnesota, 18 Wisconsin, 17 Kentucky, 16. This is where we might have a little bit of a debate. 16. I have North Carolina because we are sticking to that border to a T.
Understood.
And then at 15, Massachusetts. 14, South Carolina. 13, New York. 12, Illinois, and 11, Tennessee.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking at my list now, and we go with I don't have a number 20 because I have two coasters tied for 19th. I have Kentucky and Minnesota. So right about the same place.
Pretty much.
I've got Iowa, and you had Iowa a little lower. I
had Iowa 24, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got them at 18. I think Adventureland, very solid park. I've yet to get down to or get over to geographically to Lost Island theme park. And I think that's got some really unique roller coasters that have come in from other places. That's why I probably got a little bit higher than you do. Mm-hmm. Massachusetts at 17. I have Indiana at 16. I have Maryland at 15. Georgia at 14. New York at 13. Tennessee 11. And South Carolina 11. And Tennessee 12. Okay. I think I said that right. Probably just stumbled all over every word I had. So, I don't know. Let's get into this North Carolina versus South Carolina debate.
Yes,
because I think it is a debate that's definitely worth having. For those who don't know, my home park of Carowinds, it is the only park to be situated across state lines of North Carolina and South Carolina, named for the winds of the Carolinas that blew across the state line. But because of that, there are different maintenance regulations, and the coasters in certain states are inspected by different labor commissions, things like that. All of the roller coaster maintenance questions and have to be certified and all this stuff that I'm very deep in the weeds in because it's a hobby I have. But the coasters on the South Carolina side of Carowinds include Intimidator, which is completely on that side. Copperhead Strike is completely on that side. Woodstock Express, Wilderness Run. Brian, am I forgetting anything off the top of my head here? Afterburn, yes. Yeah. Okay. Just casual. Just Afterburn. Yeah. No big deal. No big deal. And then everything else really is on the North Carolina side of the park. So, Fury.
I would say that the treble clef of Fury is in South Carolina as well, if we want to.
It is. But because of where Fury's station is located, it technically makes it a North Carolina roller coaster because it is situated as such that a North Carolina Labor Commission or whoever certifies the rides each year inspects it. So Fury, North Carolina roller coaster, the North Carolinian on this podcast has spoken. Therefore, Fury, North Carolina. But to me,
who am I to argue with that?
Exactly.
You can't.
And Fury, again, is the world's greatest steel coaster. It has been for several years now. But, otherwise in South Carolina, you've got several SBF spinners, including a new ride called Shark Party that I didn't even know existed until this year. Another SBF spinner. You've got the Fun in the Sun coaster, the hamster wheel at the Funplex. And then you've got Swamp Fox, which in its right, very good. And you've got Twist and Shout, which came over from Magic Springs in Arkansas. I don't know. I don't think you can legitimately rank South Carolina above North Carolina. It's fine that you have it. I'm, again, as a North Carolinian, if you ever come to this state, we're going to fight. But I think it's okay to have it where you have it. You've also got Illinois here. I've got Illinois a little bit higher. But yeah, I think we're still kind of right on pace here.
Yeah, I think Indiana you have at 16. I think that's a little low.
It is. I might have forgotten when I was doing this list that Holiday World existed. So
you're just going on Indiana Beach.
I kind of was thinking Indiana Beach, but I was like, they have to have more coasters than that. But
just a little bit.
Let me revise my list a little bit here. We're gonna put Indiana at 13,
okay,
and then bump New York to 14, Georgia to 15, and Maryland to 16. So
I like that a little.
It's a little bit it's a little bit fairer in my opinion. But all right, Bryant. Now that we've reached the final segment here, tell us, the Coaster 101 listening audience, the top 10 roller coaster or top 10 states for roller coaster enthusiasts to reside in.
So this might be a little controversial. I got some potential hot takes here. Number 10, I have Indiana, as we have just discussed.
Yes.
Number 9, New Jersey. Number 8, I have Georgia. Number 7, I have Missouri. Number 6, this might upset some people. I got Texas at 6. Okay. And I have Virginia at 5.
All right.
That was kind of hot on my Twitter. I think I've asked it multiple times in my history, like, what's a better roller coaster state, Texas or Virginia? And I think there's a legit debate with those two.
I can get behind that.
It's very much a quantity versus quality kind of argument.
It is, and I think I'm gonna make a quick edit here to my list. We're gonna bump it up just a hair.
All right.
But I'll go with my 10 to 5 here. I've got
state. We'll leave our top 4. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we go? Top 4.
We did 10 to 5. Yeah.
10 to 5. My home state of North Carolina, number 10, and that's solely because I have not made it out to the city of Cherokee to ride the Ruta coaster. One of the only coasters in this state that I haven't ridden. Number 9, I have Missouri. I think between Silver Dollar City and Worlds of Fun and Six Flags St. Louis, you've got some really good parks there. Illinois, you've got Six Flags Great America, which is fantastic, at number 8. In New Jersey, I have at 7. Virginia, I have 6. Ohio, you know what? I take that back. Ohio, I have 6. Virginia, I have 5. Done.
It's hot.
That's
Ohio at 6 is hot.
Ohio at 6 is, now that I think of, let me back that down. We got Virginia at 6, Ohio at 5.
Okay.
So it was spicy. I don't think I was ready for that level of spice, and I had to rethink it, mainly because I just saw that Kings Island dropped these like Nike hoodies on their online store that just have the ride logo, and it might be the best piece of theme park merch ever created. So kingsislandgear.com, go check that out for this non-sponsored content. But all right, Bryant, we're in the final 4 here. The last 4 states, and we've got 3 of the same states, and then you're presumably one of those is Ohio. Because you have not mentioned Ohio.
Yes. No.
So who do you have in the 4? We'll do 4, 3, and 2. And then we'll just debate, not really debate, but we'll explain our number 1 choice here.
Okay, sure. Number 4, I have California, the king of quantity, but not of quality for me. Number 3, I have Ohio. And number 2, I have the great state of Pennsylvania.
Isn't that a Commonwealth?
That is true. It is a Commonwealth.
The great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I love it. All right, for me, 4, I have Texas. I think, again, the San Antonio parks, plus Six Flags Over Texas, plus if you are not riding roller coasters, you do have the National Roller Coaster Museum, which I think could make it could bump it up your list a little bit, Bryant. I think if you were thinking along those lines, because it is a coaster enthusiast attraction in the state of Texas. You do have to drive a little bit to get there, but 3, I have California, and 2, I have what I believe is your number 1. I have the state of Florida at number 2. So now that I've spoiled it for you, tell me why you have Florida number 1.
Florida number 1. So for me, and this could just be personal preference, Velocicoaster and Iron Gwazi are my 2 and 1, respectively, and even if they're not your top 2, I would say most enthusiasts that have ridden both have both in their top 10, if not top 5, if not top 3. So just having those 2 is a huge bonus. But then plus you got some of the best themed roller coasters in the world with Hagrid's, and Guardians, and then you have nostalgia with Big Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, even Everest, Rock and Roller Coaster, and I haven't even mentioned SeaWorld or Fun Spots, or both Fun Spots. I just think, and while yes, it is centered on in the Orlando Tampa stretch, it's just, I think the variety of both elite roller coasters with theme, with family, I think it's unmatched.
And you didn't even mention Daddy Pig.
I did not mention that. That's true. How could I forget?
But, I don't know. I've got Florida too, I think, for a lot of the same reasons you do. It does have a little bit of everything. Busch Gardens is fantastic. I've yet to ride Iron Gwazi or Velocicoaster. One of those I'm going to fix this coming February, which is nice.
As you should.
But I think once you get outside of the I-4 corridor there, and I mean, that's your Busch Gardens, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Fun Spot, Legoland,
there's nothing else. Yeah.
Peppa Pig, Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park. I mean, we're really stretching here. There was a former kiddie coaster in Jacksonville that closed, and then you've got a couple of things in like Panama City Beach. Florida's a big state.
Uncle Bernie's in Miami or something. I think that's what it's
called. That is. It's at a flea market. It's kind of scary looking. Not to judge here.
So you're trying to take the whole geography of a state and how well it's kind of spread out as a.
That is why that's why I've ranked the state I have at number one, which again, as we just discussed, not a state. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for me, is the best state for roller coaster enthusiasts. I believe Hershey Park is a fantastic park, has a lot of roller coasters that I have yet to visit and ride. And I think with the addition of Wildcats Revenge next year, it gives them this RMC that they don't have. They've got Candemonium, which, talking about fantastic names a little bit ago, I love a great portmanteau. It's just something I love. It's the word nerd in me. But you've also got your classic parks. You've got Knoebels. You've got Kennywood. Kennywood is worthy of any park on this list because Steel Curtain is great. Jackrabbit is great. Phantom's Revenge is great. Knoebels, you have that great classic feel, obviously. Dutch Wonderland, you've got for families. You've got the classics, Leap the Dips at Lakemont Park, for example. You've got but even like parks that are just like tucked away. You think of Waldameer, which has one of the greatest wooden roller coasters in existence, in Ravine Flyer 2. It's funny that I remembered Ravine Flyer 2, but couldn't think of the Voyage earlier. Don't mind me.
I guess Sesame Place too, underrated.
Exactly. Yeah. Oscar's Wacky Taxi. Again, we're talking Roarosaurus. I don't know. Oscar's Wacky Taxi. I've yet to get on one of these Gravity Group family coasters, but
they were a blast. I've been on 3. Ironically, the one Modern Warrior is pretty close to me. The only one I haven't been on is Roarosaurus. They're awesome. They're fantastic.
I can't wait to get on one. And then we've got Dorney Park, which is are they probably deserving of a new coaster at some point in the not so near future? I mean, yes, eventually we would love to see a new park go there. So Dorney, if you're listening, I'm sorry it hasn't happened for a while, but it's such, I think, from coast to coast, and I think the density of, we were talking about the density earlier, which I believe is New Jersey is the most dense state, but looking at RCDB, according to density, Pennsylvania comes in at 7th, and actually comes in at 6th because it ranks Guam in the United States as a territory. But it's behind New Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. Pennsylvania is not a small state. The rest of those states, I am not super great at geography, but I bet could all fit inside of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, probably.
So I think you've got to give the honor to PA here. So just to kind of recap top 10s for both of us, I had North Carolina, Missouri, Illinois, New Jersey, Virginia at 6, Ohio at 5, Texas at 4, California, Florida, and then last but certainly not least, Pennsylvania. And then, Bryant, just recap your top 10 one more time.
Sure. So I got Indiana, New Jersey, Georgia, Missouri, Texas, Virginia, California, Ohio at 3, Pennsylvania at 2, and Florida at 1. Honestly, your argument for Pennsylvania, I would just repeat, but as a reason to put over Ohio. Because I know a lot of people would have Ohio at 1, but
they do. And there is no shame to Cedar Point or Kings Island. I love Kings Island. Personally, great. Kings Island might be one of my favorite parks I've ever visited. And then, but outside of those two parks, it's a little...
See, my argument is, like, especially with Wildcats Revenge, I mean, Hershey and Cedar Point are almost neck and neck, I think.
Yeah.
And so even if Cedar Point's a little better, you're basically saying all the rest of Pennsylvania, you're comparing it to Kings Island. Kings Island's great, but I don't know if it's better than all those parks combined.
I don't think so. And I mean, you've got Strickers and you've got your handful of, Sane 75s and the Columbus Zoo, of course. But Ohio is still, it's Kings Island and Cedar Point. And if you're not particularly close to either of those, you might be in for a not so great time. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of this hobby, is that we're willing to kind of travel and, find these places. Absolutely. I don't think I would have ever driven to Waldameer after landing in Pittsburgh had I not been a part of this hobby. So I think that's what makes it great. And the good news is, because these lists aren't scientific, you can, you have your own take. So tweet us and tweet Brian at Coaster365. If you don't like our list, send us a tweet. If you do like our list, send us a tweet. Whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah.
But Brian, before we wrap this up, let's let you get a couple more plugs in for the Coaster365 Twitter account and new YouTube channel.
Yeah, so follow me, Coaster365 on Twitter. I'm starting to get a little better on Instagram. It was a very slow process. I'm also on Instagram. I think it's Coaster_365 there. And then, starting January 1st, I will be posting videos every single day on the Coaster365 YouTube channel. Very excited. I'm sure it's going to be a growing process. I'm not going to be putting out these, grade A videos to start, but hey, down the road, that's the goal. So
all I know is you promised guest appearances. So tag me in. I'm ready.
I would love to go to, but I don't love to. I need to go back to Carowinds next year, so I am going to be sure to hit you up. 100%.
Aeronautical Landing, going to be great.
Absolutely.
So after you follow Bryant on all of his forms of social media, make sure you follow Coaster101. We're everywhere. And hey, look, another podcast and another week where Twitter still exists. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Find us on the internet. We're there. We're also available at Coaster101.com if you prefer your coaster news and reviews to come in the form of written word. If you're listening, make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, and doing all of those podcast buzzwords so other people will find the show and we can have really fun debates with future guests in the just like we do with Bryant.
Basically, if you see Coaster followed by a 3-digit number, just follow it.
Yeah, that's it. There's somebody else in the enthusiast community. He's got Coaster and then Guy and then 101. Which is, there's the Coaster Guy, there's Coaster101, and then there's the Coaster Guy 101, which is, that's a whole thing.
Too much.
But if you're doing your holiday shopping, we are selling calendars right now. Not the 365 Coaster a Day calendar, but the 12-month hang on the wall calendar to benefit Give Kids the World. So go check that out at c101.co/23calendar. We also have our TeePublic shop. That's c101.co/TeePublic. So take care of those coaster enthusiasts in your life with the last minute holiday shopping and buy things. There's some really cool stuff on both those things. And obviously the money for the calendars goes to a really great cause. But thanks, as always, to Justin Mabry of JMMD Entertainment for our theme music. Bryant, this was fun. You're welcome back anytime if we can arbitrarily rank something else.
I would love to. Yes, definitely let me know. This was so much fun. Like I said, truly honored to be on. I've been following you guys since the beginning. So thank you again. Really meant a lot.
We gotta get you out there and following other people, because if you're following just us, there's a whole wide world of coaster enthusiasts out there, Bryant.
Well, I only choose the best, so.
Again,
you guys are definitely one of them.
Checks in the mail.
Exactly.
All right, and we will talk to you all again soon. See ya.